I'm John Bradley Jackson, and our show today is all about startups and entrepreneurship. In the weeks to come, we're going to meet with various startups in various stages of launch and hear their stories. You know, we're also going to have guests that include startup advisors and others who support and guide the startups through the startup jungle. And it really is a jungle. It's really difficult to start a company and scale it. And there are always stories that can be told. So this is going to be a talk show with a single guest for each episode. And we're going to probe deeply into that startup and try to understand why the startup's working, and also get to know the founder or founders about why they're crazy enough to do all this. And as an audience member, you're going to be encouraged to join in and ask questions. You know, as for me, you can call me JJ. I teach entrepreneurship full-time at Cal State Fullerton, and I'm the director of the Center for Entrepreneurship, which includes 2 startup incubators. One is in Placentia, and the other is in Irvine. I'm also an angel investor and founded Titan Angels, which is a seed investment fund. And as far as my background, I've had a few questions. I'm originally a Silicon Valley guy in marketing and sales type roles. I did that for about a decade, and then my next tour of duty was Wall Street, where I helped take companies public. And so there I learned about greed with a capital G. I was more like a Boy Scout amongst gangbangers, truthfully. And my third career is here associated with Fullerton. I'm also a startup advisor on a limited basis. I work with some startups to help push them forward. And you can follow me on johnbradleyjackson.com, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. And happy to collaborate with you. Titan Radio is Fullerton's official radio station. We host over 70 student and faculty members on air. Most of it's music, and so this is a little different. And this has been around since about 2001. And it's a lot of fun. This show will also be recorded and pushed out via a podcast, and that'll be distributed from CSUF Entrepreneurship, which is our blog, and also be on our website. Our guest today is Michael Ruiz, who's the founder of Tomorrow's Tone. And Michael, it's a pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here, JJ.
Yeah. So let's just jump right into it. Could you give me kind of an elevator pitch for Tomorrow's Tone, what it is?
Yeah, definitely. So Tomorrow's Tone, what we do and what we provide is special needs music education. So what we do is we combine classical music theory with applied behavioral analysis to create a conducive learning environment for our students. Now, let me just break down what ABA is, or applied behavioral analysis is, because to some people it's a new concept.
It's Greek to most.
Yes. So ABA is really correcting or manipulating behaviors through data-driven decisions. So basically the way our music lessons are held is we collect data from our students while they go through the progress so that we can alter the program to meet their specific needs. So in short, we're making 100% completely customized music lessons for our students with behavioral disorders.
So this is not music therapy.
Correct. That is another major hurdle that we have to deal with, is the difference between music education and music therapy. So music therapy is great. They use music to heal, wounds, emotional wounds. They use it for various different things, where we are music education, actually teaching the instrument step by step, as a normal or an neurotypical child would learn an instrument. We do the same, but just apply different methods through ABA.
So what was the genesis of this idea to create the company?
Well, we're gonna step back in our little time machine to me being in high school. I actually wanted to own and operate a music school in my adult life. I took a path that would put me through engineering school so that I can get money and then eventually fund my music school. Well, fast forward a little bit to my actual education here at Cal State Fullerton, where I studied, or my concentration was in entrepreneurship, where I decided to actually pursue opening the music school. And through interviews with various parents in different areas, such as music schools from Guitar Center or just private or at-home teachers, we found out that there wasn't really anything being provided for the special needs community.
Define special needs for me. It's a fairly big category.
Of course, and I'll define it just a little bit more for the special needs that we deal with in particular. Okay. So we deal with behavioral disorders. That's autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, ADD, traumatic brain injuries causing a behavioral disorder. We also work with students that have physical disabilities. We go as far as actually altering the instrument itself to meet the specific needs of our students. For example, we're actually in the process of creating a program for blind students. So there is blind sheet music, and there are stickers that actually have Braille that we can put onto the keys so that the students can actually feel where each specific note is.
All right, very cool. And your students, are they K through 12? Are they adult? Or are they pre-K?
Well, when it comes to age, our doors really open to everyone. Our youngest student that we have right now is 5, and we would like to take up to 105. Any age in between that, we believe that it's never too late to learn an instrument, especially with those with special needs. Any opportunity that they have to learn something new, we want to be, as far as music is concerned, the forefront of that.
The students, now, have they already had music education, music lessons, or is this something new?
Only one of our students has had prior music lessons, and his story is a little bit heartbreaking because his teacher only taught him for 2 lessons and said, "Sorry, I can't do anything for him because he suffers from autism. I can't do anything." As our other 8 students do not have any prior music education. However, all of them are just blowing it out of the water when it comes to learning the music. In 2 sessions, I was able to get one of my students to actually sight read all of the notes when it comes to the piano. Now, these are the basic notes that we're talking about, the first 14, but he was able to do it in just 2 weeks. So our students, going from no music education to now learning how to speak, if you would, speak the language of music, which is sight reading music, it's a huge ego booster for them as well, because they're learning a skill that not too many people actually can do.
So for the person who's not special needs, and I'm talking about myself now, but who has tried, in my case, guitar, multiple times unsuccessfully. So would this approach help me?
Definitely, yes. Our program, though we say we are special needs music education, our program can actually be used for everyone. ABA can be used with everyone, actually. So what we'll do is, if you want to start taking lessons with me, we'll actually sit down and find out what are your strengths and weaknesses. What do you like to do? What do you like to watch? What do you like to hear? And then we completely manipulate the actual learning of guitar, and we put it into chunks that are things that you like to do. So let's say you have a specific taste in music. Okay, then the song I'm going to be teaching you is that particular song. Now we're going to break that process into little steps that you can easily follow along with, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We find things that motivate you. So it's like, hey, at the end of the lesson, I don't know, we'll go out for lunch. That'll be like a reward for the end for completing the lesson. So that way, not only are you learning something, but you're motivated to be learning something and continuously being motivated to learn.
Yeah. My kids have studied music and were band kids in high school. And my daughter played the flute, and they approached her and said, hey, we need an oboe player. And a double reed is a difficult instrument. And she mastered it and did really well. And so I said, hey, Beth, this is my daughter Beth, how did you master that? And she said, Dad, mindless repetition.
And honestly, yeah, that's what it takes to learn an instrument. But our job at Tomorrow's Tone is to make it fun.
Yeah.
So we don't want it to be mindless anymore. We want it to be fun. So like one of our picking exercises, we call it the SpongeBob. So they're kind of training their brain off and picking the strings while watching a TV show that they like, right? So you want to be comfortable enough with your picking hand to be able to do it without really paying attention to it. So you can focus on now what your playing hand is doing, what notes you're playing, what chords you're playing, right? So there are methods that we do with, mindless repetition, but just make it fun and engaging as much as possible.
Sweet. I need to take you up on this. I took guitar lessons with my son. He was, I think, 15, and I got him a guitar. I got a guitar, and in 6 weeks, I swear, he was gigging. And then me, I was still trying to master the rhythms, so.
I'm actually happy you said that, because there's a certain thing that why we run, why Tomorrow's Tone exists. There's several things, but this is one of them, is a lot of music teachers today believe that there's one way of teaching music, right? And there's a slogan there's a phrase that we live by, and it's, if they cannot learn the way we teach, then we teach the way they learn. Mm-hmm. So we really take that one way of learning music and completely manipulate it and stretch it out and do whatever we need to meet the needs of each student. So maybe the teacher that was working with you was like, oh, well, your son's learning at this level, so you should be too because you're his dad. So there is that assumption being made, but not really like, okay, maybe it might be a little bit more difficult to teach you than him, so I might need to alter things. Yeah. So that's another reason why.
And we were taking lessons together, just for the record. So it was a deeply humiliating experience for me. I think I'm scarred. But this is where my work in the classroom also reminds me that people have their own learning style. So some of us are auditory, some of us are visual, some of us learn kinesthetically. They need to pick it up and do it,
Yeah.
And
all my students are each one of those things.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So, what are the services that Tomorrow's Tone offers?
Well, right now we're offering music lessons for the special needs community. As far as we also actually provide the instrument too. So when a student comes in, we're working with piano and guitar right now. Okay. If the family cannot afford a piano or a guitar, then we just provide them with one and we alter it. So another service that we do is actually altering the instrument itself to meet the needs of the student. With piano, it's a little bit easier. Guitar, a little bit more difficult, but we can really, color in the notes on the fretboard for the guitar to really help. Okay, our students that learn visually will actually color the fretboard for them.
So how do they practice at home then?
So then there's another part of it is actually teaching the parent, right? So we find out, because I'm actually the music teacher as well, I'm spending about 60% of the time teaching the parent how to teach the program at home, right? So our program is held either once a week or twice a week. We like twice a week just because the information sticks a little bit better. But if it is once a week, we do let the parent know, okay, these are the steps that you're going to be doing. We print them out a cheat sheet. So it's like, this is your way of sight reading music and this is their way. We want to teach them this specific way, but for you, it's like this.
And then for your students, is it typical to take a lesson once a week?
Yes. So they'll come in once a week. We want the twice a week for the information to stick. But we do have more than half of our students come in once a week.
And then they should be practicing multiple times during the week.
Correct. So we have a requirement of time or a recommended time. We say at minimum 30 minutes a day. Most of our students take it beyond that. They'll go an hour to 2 hours a day just because they really enjoy what they're learning.
That's interesting because I don't know much about people who are on the spectrum, but it's my understanding they have the ability to concentrate for prolonged periods of time.
Correct. Given that what they're practicing is repetitive. So of my students, they really like the repetition of learning one particular thing. And it's kind of hard to move them from, okay, we mastered this part of the song, now we're going to this part of the song. And they're like, no, but I like this one, and I know this one. So a big part of our program is teaching them to learn to move from one repetition to another thing that they can repeat as well, to really master the skills. So when we have, like you said, they really like sitting for prolonged times learning one thing, it's way different at home than it is in the classroom. So at home, they'll practice for 2 hours. But in the classroom, since we're teaching so many things at one time, it's really hard to get them to move from one task to another, just because it's different than what they've already been doing.
So you're in the Cal State Fullerton Startup Incubator. Tell me a little about that experience.
Okay. Question, does the audience know what an incubator is?
That's a good question. We're in 130 countries. Why don't you tell us that context?
Okay, so what the business incubator is, if you've ever heard of an egg incubator, it's something similar, where you have a bunch of mentors and professors and specialists, and what they do is they help students or anybody that wants to be a part of the incubator start a business. So you go in there, you pay the fee, or if you get sponsored, then you get to go in for free, and they link you up with a mentor that kind of walks you through the process of starting a business. Now, the mentor's job is to not start the business for you, but kind of give you advice where you need help. They also have lots of events there where they have guest speakers that are specialists in the field, where you can go and learn specific tasks or specific skills from somebody that's living it and doing it. So we've been a member of the incubator for a little under a year now. In March, it'll be a year. And we got linked up with a mentor named William Van Vliet, and he really lit a fire under our butts. So we had a really good idea, but we were spinning in circles wondering what to do. And when we met Bill, he said, "Okay, what's your plan? What's your next year look like? What's the next 5 years? What about the next 10 years?" And honestly, we couldn't answer him at the time. So he said, "Okay, let's do it. Let's write this all down right now." And he broke up this whiteboard into separate sections for the 1 year, the 5 year, the 10-year mark, and what we were going to be doing or what we hoped to be accomplishing at the end of each of those goals. So what he got us into the habit of doing was setting goals for ourselves, long-term and short-term, being able to accept the fact that we don't hit all of our goals at all times. That those little goals that we set for us, it's like, it's okay, you didn't hit it, but you have plans to hit it. So we pushing it to the next month, that's fine, but you need to get it done. And he really taught us, the importance of timing and planning things out. And planning things out logically, right? So smart goals. So it's like, okay, you can do this goal, but is it going to benefit you with anything else? So we might put that to the back burner. This is the goal that you want to put first, so that it really help you, structure your business. So when we entered the incubator, we were just, an idea, and where we are now is an S corp with an actual. We started a nonprofit foundation that's in the process of getting the paperwork done. It takes 6 months to a year just to be vouched by the IRS. So we're just waiting on that. But that's the Set the Tone Foundation. So we have a lot of things in process right now, and a huge part of it comes from Bill teaching us how to do these skills.
So tell me about the legal entity. So you're an S Corp and you're also creating a foundation.
Correct. So as the S Corp, this is where we're going to be mainly charging for our services. So if there's 3 ways that a student can take lessons with us. So 2 of them being with out-of-pocket. So that's just if they want to come in and take lessons, but the insurance won't cover it, then it'll be just out-of-pocket. The second way is through insurances, as I mentioned.
And insurance. So tell me about that. What type of claim is it?
So it's actually we work on the skills that the data that we collect actually shows that we're showing improvements with fine motor skills, attention to task, and just asking questions and responding. So there's a lot of things that our program actually teaches beside music. So we have a student that was sitting tops 5 minutes at the piano before he'd get up and leave, because he's like, I'm done. I'm done for today. Now he'll sit the full 45-minute session and do the entire thing without taking one break. And we have the way our program works is they have to take a break, because it's like, we don't want to overwork you. We want you to be motivated to come back. So the last 15 minutes to 10 minutes will be dedicated to a break. But his parents are also showing that at home, there's a lot of these great side effects happening, as well. That when we ask, the parents will ask him to do a task and he'll just get up and do it. Or at school, they're showing performance-wise doing better in school because now they're being used to told to do something and then being rewarded for doing it. So the school now is benefiting from the way that we're teaching that student as well. So these are just things that we can actually put as claims for insurances, as well as the fine motor skills, because when it comes to playing piano and guitar, it's very specific finger movements and hand movements that have to be done. So one of our students started with only using his 2 pointer fingers, and now he can use both hands pretty proficiently. And we do lots of tests off the piano as well to ensure that it's actually sticking and all of that. So insurances can cover 100% to 20%, depending on how we phrase what we're doing and the information that we get them.
So this dual entity, so you have the S Corp, which is the for-profit company, and then you've applied for a 501c3?
Correct.
Right?
501c3 for what we're calling the Set the Tone Foundation. And this is the third way that students will be able to take lessons with us. So through the nonprofit organization, we'll be raising funds as well as taking instrument donations. So through this, the funds that we raise will actually be used as scholarships for students. So if there's students that are just low income or their insurances don't want to cover it, then we will actually provide them with the scholarship. There will also be the instrument donation. So we would like our students to have an instrument at home, just because the week that we don't see them, they're going to need something to practice on.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, I was just instruments. So today I heard piano and guitar. Is that correct?
That is correct. So we like to teach on keyboards, just because they're easy to carry around. They're relatively small and light,
right, and
a student can really bang on it and whatever they need to get done. As well as our guitars, we use on the lower price range, but still good quality guitars for our students. Again, if they drop it, if they break it, it's not really that big of an issue. But if the student's going to be taking an instrument home, we actually let them keep it. So it's kind of like, here's a gift to you for going through our program. And of course, all of that is since the instruments are donated, it's not really a loss for us as well as money goes.
So as the company grows, do you see yourself taking on other specialties, other instruments? Or?
Definitely. We are actually in the process of hiring a new music tech. So she'll be taking on my students, but also be actually creating a couple of new music programs. So it'll be the tin flute, she's a flautist, the tin flute, the flute, the saxophone, and a drum program. So these are 4 new programs that we have in the works right now. The drum program is almost complete. One of the other founders is a drummer, and myself, and my brother, the BCBA, and I'll tell you what that is in a little bit, are creating this program so that our students have another way of expressing themselves. Drums are great if you really want to tire someone out, because you just let them go and bang and use all of their energy. So a lot of parents would be pretty grateful for that program.
You might as well touch on the BCBA now.
Okay, so BCBA stands for Board Certified Behavioral Analyst, and that would be similar to a lawyer passing the bar. A BCBA is somebody that passed the test for the field of ABA. So that means they have their master's degree in ABA, they pass this test, and they become certified nationwide. And with this degree, or with this test or this certification, it actually allows them to run businesses that provide ABA services, as well as process the data that's collected. So somebody can have a degree in ABA and teach ABA and collect the data, but legally they're not allowed to actually process the data and make any changes. You have to be a BCBA in order to do that.
And that's
And that is my brother.
Your brother. Yeah. And he's active in the business?
Yes. Him and I actually created what we call the Harmony Method. This is the process of teaching music with ABA. So him and I went back and forth for several months in determining how we were going to implement it. He's keeping a watchful eye over. We're in beta right now, so he has his eye all over it and making sure that the data that I'm collecting is the appropriate data.
Yeah. And then you have other co-founders, right?
Correct. So their names are Joshua Sloane and Russell Gilcrest. Joshua Sloane is our marketing website building expert. He's our whole technological side. Russell Gilcrest is our financial side. He has a degree in business, but his expertise is more in finance and basically he watches how much money we spend.
Okay. And both are musicians by chance? Or?
Joshua is a musician, but Russell is not. But Russell is involved in the special needs community. He was a shadow out of school, so he would basically walk around with the students with special needs that needed somebody to watch them and making sure that they were safe. So we really combined our three passions, which two of us being music and one of us being with special needs, as well as my brother with the BCBA certification, and kind of created Tomorrow's Town.
Right, right. So I get the vibe for the company, and then your role is the CEO. Is that correct?
Correct. CEO, president, same thing in this case.
Yeah.
I do a lot of public speaking events. I go to a lot of resource fairs. I go to a lot of the... sorry, I'm having a brain fart. I go to a lot of the RCOC. Trying to remember the...
You stumped me.
The regional centers, there we go. The regional center of Orange County.
Yes,
so I go to a lot of regional centers and basically vouch for our program and say, hey, we have students in our program right now. They're showing fantastic success. Here's the charts that show their success in these specific tasks. Please send some students our way.
Okay. And then today, your business operates out of the Placentia Cal State Fullerton Startup Incubator, which is at 120 South Bradford.
That is correct.
In Placentia. Okay. So let's flip it a bit. I'd like to talk a little about you, since you're the founder, the brainchild of this. Our listeners have asked, well, who are these people? You know, are they like me, meaning the listener? Is there something special going on in terms of like the DNA? So let's go way back in time. So tell me about your childhood and any intersection with music, etc.
Okay. I'll just give you the whole shebang. I'll give you my whole life.
Right.
So this story I don't really share with too many people, but I will share today because I think it's important. You're not just born a leader. You have to work really hard to become a leader. And you're not just born with musical talent, and you have to really work with, what you're born into. And with my situation for childhood, my parents were workaholics. My mom worked all hours of the day. My dad was a self-made entrepreneur. He owns one of the longest-serving automotive shops in Corona. And I rarely saw them in my childhood. I was actually raised by my babysitter. So she lived down the street from me, and she is amazing. I still see her to this day. And I see her as my mother. So my core values are just a little bit different from my siblings. So I'm the youngest of four, and my values really stem from her. Not that it's not that my siblings' values are bad. It's just a little bit different, a little bit tweaked. I was raised with a lot of love, though, and a lot of respect for my parents. I have a lot of respect for my parents because now that I'm older...
Are they first generation by chance?
My dad is first generation, and my mom is second generation.
Okay. Right.
But I do have a lot of respect for my parents because now that I'm older, I can really understand why they work so hard, because raising 4 kids is not easy, and sending all of them to college is not easy as well. So going back to my parents, I'll tell you a little bit about them. So my mom, hardworking, caring, very strict, and she's usually worked for someone for her entire life. So I have this interesting dynamic between my parents. I have my dad, the entrepreneur, it's kind of free-spirited, and I have my mom that works for the state, and she's very strict and just she really values stability. My dad is first generation. He started in Mexico, and he was working on a tequila farm. He actually cut agave, and then when him and my mom met, he became a citizen of the United States, and he started his own business. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happened in between there having 4 kids, but he decided to start an automotive business because he learned the trade, and he's like, this is something that I could realistically do. My mom and dad both influenced me in the fact that they are both thinkers and doers. So they taught me to, if you have a good idea, act on it. And if you can't do it yourself, find somebody that can and delegate. This is something that I learned from a really young age from my mom.
Yeah. So backing up just for a second,
yeah.
I asked the probing question about are your parents first generation? And one of the things that I see with entrepreneurs in the classroom as well in practice is there's some modeling that goes on from the parents, and invariably immigrant families have incredibly strong work ethics, and they promote hard work and dedication and company ownership in addition to education and skill set. So it's just a very common thread, not always there, but often.
And I think a lot of it stems from, like, you're going to go to the States, you're going to work your butt off. Like, that's the idea. You come here to live a better life, but you're going to have to work for it. And even my friends, my friends that are immigrants, they have the same mentality. They're like, I didn't come here to play. I came here to work so that I can live a good life later in life, later.
Right,
but right now I need to work really hard. So those are my parents. My dad taught me also servant leadership, which I didn't know was called servant leadership until I actually came into Cal State Fullerton. I read the book about servant leadership. So putting your customers and your staff first. They are always first, and they are your number one. So the way I run my business is, there are only 4 founders, but whenever I take on someone new, it's like, you get to talk to me immediately. If you have any problems, I don't want this hierarchy where you have to talk to your manager to talk to me. If you're going to be working with me, you need to speak to me directly. Mm-hmm. So then I mentioned that I'm the youngest of 4. So my 3 siblings are all professionals. They definitely take after my mom. My brother is BCBA, as I mentioned before. My sister works for infectious disease control for the city of LA. And my other sister is the HR for AECOM. It's one of the biggest, they're actually building the stadium right here in LA. So they're all professionals in their field. And then I'm the odd man out that decided to pursue what my dad does and start my own business. Yeah. So that's, a little bit about my family.
Yeah. So about you, what were your interests in, school, high school? How would you characterize yourself?
So where I found music was actually in middle school. I was a pretty chubby kid. I'm kind of a chubby adult. But in high school, I lost a lot of weight. But in middle school, I was teased a lot and I had a pretty low self-esteem from that. And I asked my parents, because I saw somebody on TV playing the drums. And I asked my parents, hey, can I become a drummer? Like, I'll become cool like him. And they're like, the drums are too loud. Let's make you a guitar player. So they bought me a guitar player.
That's flawed thinking. They don't know what an electric guitar might do.
And it's funny because somebody told me recently, imagine how many great drummers out there that we lost to their parents that didn't want the noise. So I took on guitar. And I fell in love almost immediately. My guitar teacher was he is a character. He had the most stereotypical name for a guitar player. His name was Max Steele. And he was the coolest person to this day that I have ever met. He was a rock and roll. He lived it. Yeah. He loved it. And he taught me everything he learned. He said, there's 2 ways that I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you how to play the guitar, and then I'm going to teach you to play the guitar. So this was my really first taste of somebody taking the time to learn me and the way that I learn and break it apart to a way that I understand. So learning how to play the guitar. These are the basic foundations of, what's a bar chord, sight reading music, finger placement, building up my calluses and all that. Then there was teaching me to play the guitar. So this was listening to music with him, learning what soul was, learning what putting yourself into the music was. And I took off from there. Unfortunately, he passed away when I was taking lessons with him. And I never pursued another music teacher because I felt like he gave me everything that I really needed to learn. And so I decided to take on music for myself. So I carried it on through high school and into my college days. But in high school, a little bit about me there, I was the leader of my friend group, and I really love, and I'm still friends with all, 15 of them. And they called us the UN because all of my friend group were from different countries. All of us, or all of them, were immigrants. But they didn't really seem to fit into any of the typical cliques. They weren't jocks. They weren't, I don't know, just modern cliques. So we welcomed everyone that didn't belong to the other groups. And from there, I really took on the form of leadership, of really finding out what people were passionate about and then pushing them in that direction. One of my friends, smartest guy I've ever met, even to this day, he didn't know what to do. And I said, hey, why don't you try engineering? And now he works for Raytheon. He was working for Northrop and then transferred to Raytheon. This guy is just out of this world. He's brilliant. Also in high school, I was the captain of the varsity swim team, where I had to learn a different form of leadership there. I had to learn a little bit more disciplinary
Now,
leadership.
were you in band as well, or not?
I was not in band. I actually had to choose between doing sports or doing music. And in high school, I decided to do sports just because, as I mentioned, I was a chubbier kid in middle school and I wanted to lose some weight. So I did swim full time. I swam for the team and then I also swam club. And that helped me, trim down the weight a lot and boost my ego. So let's fast forward to graduation. And this is the part of the story where I don't really tell people. So actually,
high school.
Yes, or graduating high school and going into college. Right. So Cal State Fullerton was not the first college that I attended. I actually attended San Diego State University, and I was there for 3 years, and I guess I dropped out. So I was studying aerospace engineering, and for me, that time in San Diego was the most difficult time of my life so far, and I hope that it's the most difficult time of my life so far because I want the rest of my life to be really, really nice and good. But it's in that time where I actually lost sight of music. So there was a solid 2 years in there where I wasn't even playing an instrument. I didn't take any of my instruments with me to guitar. And when I lost the music, I really lost my way. I got into drugs. I dropped out of college, and I was just working at Panda Express. What I thought I was living the dream because I was saving a little bit of money. And it wasn't until I had a little bit of a rude awakening where I got evicted from my apartment and I had to spend the night on the street for like 3 weeks. And it wasn't until then that I realized I messed up.
Yeah, we refer to that as learning, by the way. So.
Yeah, I learned, and I learned the hard and the fast way. Yeah. Luckily, I had a really good friend. He's still my best friend to this day. And he took me back to his apartment. He's like, you're going to be staying here and you're going to get a proper paying job and you're going to do something that's actually going to benefit you. He had a guitar in his apartment and I took it upon myself to I haven't played in a long time. And as I started playing again, I started to find myself again and find out what I'm really passionate about. I got off drugs. I got a job at a kite store. I sold kite surfing kites. The place is called Kite Flight in San Diego.
Cool.
If you ever get a chance to go there, please do. It is the coolest spot. They'll let you go out and fly a kite for free on the bay. You don't have to pay anything, and it's just a full day of entertainment. And in that job, I met somebody named Kevin Olenek, and he was the owner of the business, a serial entrepreneur, if you would. And he owned 5 of the businesses there in Seaport Village in San Diego. And my interview with him when I first applied was supposed to be 15 minutes. Him and I ended up talking for almost 3 hours.
Wow. Just
about life. And he really poured into me everything that he knew about life. And I still talk to him about once a month. He's a huge inspiration for me. And I forgot to mention that in that time, being in San Diego, since it was my first time away from home, I felt that I could do it on my own. So I stopped talking to my family. Big mistake. Kevin,
more learning.
Yeah, more learning. So Kevin really told me, you need to start talking to your family again. He goes, I want you as an employee here, but the deal is that you're going to have to take drug tests. I said, okay, that's a solid deal. If you employ me and you like me, then let's make it happen. He got me into contact again with my parents. I spent one year in San Diego working at the kite store. And my parents decided that it would be best for me to move back home and try going to school again. So I said, okay, I could do that. So I moved back home, and I went to community college. I went to Mount San Antonio College. The classes that they had there were the most difficult because the teachers there, or the professors there, actually cared about their students, and they wanted them to learn. And in being there, I found out that, okay, I want to do what I was supposed to do initially, which was run a music school, not be an aerospace engineer. So how do I do that? So I joined the honors program there, and I got my own counselor that would basically help me choose the career path that I wanted to take and how to do it in the best way. And she told me, okay, there are 2 schools that I know of that have entrepreneurship programs. There's Cal State Fullerton and there's USC. Which do you want to do? And after looking at the price of each college, I was like, you know what? I think Cal State Fullerton is a little bit more affordable. Let's do that one. And she said, okay, what other schools do you want to apply to? I was like, just that one. She's like, are you sure? Yes. So Cal State Fullerton was the only school that I applied to coming out of community college, and I got in. I was really happy to get in. So now my time here, I completely used the school as much as I could. I mean, you know me, I spoke to you multiple times. I spoke to Travis, Charles Seta, in the small business, the SBI building, and I just spoke to as many people and networked as much as I can, because I knew that if I wanted my business to survive, I needed to meet a lot of people that would help me and network. So then there was my time in the classes. So that's small business startup and small business launch, or startup launch and startup creation. And in those two courses is where I got to meet the founders. They were actually they chose to be on my team. And from there, we decided to make Tomorrow's Tone. I mean, I'm skipping a lot of facts just to save a little bit of time, but there's a lot of things that happen there.
No, I think this is really cool because there is no perfect path. There's just your path. And in the world of startups and entrepreneurship, there really isn't failure. It's more about learning. So this worked, this didn't, all right. In the case of when it didn't, what can I change to allow me to go forward? And the role of your parents, your caregiver, your babysitter, I mean, that all helps shape us in its own way. And I think that's a really powerful story, and I thank you for sharing.
Yeah, of course.
So returning to the business, you said you're in beta, but you're actually in revenue. Is that correct?
Yes, we're in revenue. One of the parents was very insistent on wanting to pay for the services, so we're like, okay, we'll start revenue then. So one of our students is paying. Since we're in beta, that we're really just doing the long-term effects of our program and
documenting all that.
Correct.
Of course,
everything's being documented. Every bit of data that we can collect is being collected. And then we have new students sign up because we wanted to say, okay, now we've done it with this first group of students. This is what we learned works and doesn't work, at least in the beginning. And then we try it with our new students, and they are just accelerating even faster. Like, there's a student that I told you that learned how to sight read music in 2 days. That was because we learned from our first group of students, we were taking too long teaching that skill. So we could fast track that a little bit, and our students just benefited from that immediately.
All right, very cool. And then, so the nonprofit, you're going through the application process. Now, to now move this and scale it, what are the things that have to happen?
Okay. So we've actually been given several routes that we can take to business, and we intend to hit every single route that we can. So right now, we are fundraising so that we can get enough money to get our own building, because as much as we love working as a business incubator, there's another startup that could really benefit from using that space that we're using right now.
Fundraising, raising capital, looking for investors?
Looking for investors, or just raising enough money to get a small location of our own, how we can start teaching classes. So we do need investment. We do need people to put money into us so that we can, one, open as many classrooms, and two, be able to pay the new teachers that we're going to be having coming in.
So what I understand is a burden that you have to bear as a music educator of minors. You have to have a physical dwelling, which does not include the local schools.
Correct. However, we can work with private schools. So that was another route that we could take, is actually we would license our program to there, because a lot of school districts have their own BCBA that works under them. My brother's actually the BCBA for the Monrovia School District. But for charter schools, they have their own setups, but most of them do have a behavioral specialist. So we would license our program to charter schools where they can actually teach our music program in their classrooms. Another route that we can take is there's a company called Easter Seals. So they're the biggest nonprofit organization in California for the special needs community. And they've taken interest into what we do. They were actually at our open house the other day, and a couple board members were there, and they're vouching for us now because they're like, okay, this is real and it works. We've seen the students. They played music for us. Like, we know this is a legitimate thing. So they're in the process of discussing it so that we would be in their location.
Yeah. And so for that addresses the dwelling, the the building, the bricks and mortar. Now then on the nonprofit side, you can pursue grants.
Correct.
Or other forms of donations, gifts?
Correct. Yeah, so the nonprofit organization is going to be mainly for raising the funds to keep the business alive, especially for the students, because, of course, we don't have a business if we don't have students. And if the students can afford it, then they're not going to be part of it. So that's the major thing that the nonprofit will do, would be give money to the students so that they can continue taking lessons with us, and then give them an instrument to take home with them.
So your business model is effectively an hourly lesson methodology. Is there any way to digitize all of this and help a remote audience?
So as we've done a lot of research into that to see if we could do like video. The part that gets difficult is since our lessons are actually one-on-one and very hands-on. So we actually have to move the kids' hands, so we need someone there. Mm-hmm. So an option that we're looking at is to, instead of having us teach the student, a teacher will work with the student and collect the data, but the BCBA will be communicating remotely. So our BCBA has considered that if we do decide to license the program, instead we would just teach the teachers how to do the method and collect the data, and then Skype with him, and then he can go over, okay, this student is learning this particular way, so you need to alter this program a little bit, or completely scrap that because the student's not learning visually anymore. Maybe we need to go more auditory. So that is an option that we can take.
I see. And so I envision an option would be to train the trainers, in effect, to teach the teachers your methodology, and that's a way to scale.
Correct.
Right. You got any recent success stories that you could tell me?
Yes, I'll actually talk about two of my students. So they'll be referred to as Student G and Student N, just because of HIPAA. So Student G is awesome. He's the student that I said he had previous music education before, and his teacher said he can't learn. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no way that we can teach this kid music. Like, he's too crazy. He can't sit still. She quit on him. And that really broke my heart. But at the same time, it motivated me because it's like, I'm going to teach him how to play music. He went from sitting at the piano for 5 minutes at a time to now completely sitting there for the full, 45 to 50 minute session, and then taking his 10-minute break. Not only that, he's able to sight read. He's learned to play the Star Wars theme song, and he chose that song because he wanted to play it for his dad, because that's his dad's favorite movies.
Cool.
He knows how to play the entire thing.
Yeah.
Now the only thing we're doing is teaching him to play it in time. He's already has half the song down in proper time. He's knocking it out of the park, and the thing is that his mom tells me several times that this is the first time I see him do an activity where he's not crying. So wow. In his particular case...
How old, by the way?
He's 8 years old.
8 years old, young child. Okay.
Yeah. So when he gets distressed, he'll cry.
Yeah.
But our job is to not distress him, right? So we work with him, and at any instance that he shows, I'm not comfortable, I'm not happy, then we completely will stop the lesson. It's like, okay, let's take a deep breath, let's relax, let's get back into it, but let's try it this way. So it's a lot of responsibility for the teacher to make sure that the student is happy and engaged in the program. So that's Student G, amazing. And what we're actually going to be doing for them, and what we're going to be doing for all of our students, we just introduced this a couple weeks ago. But each of our students, once they master the song that they want to play, we're going to rent them a tuxedo, and we're going to have them sit at our baby grand piano. So a woman, her name is Lucy Lyons, was nice enough to donate a baby grand piano to us. And we're going to professionally record them playing the song that they learned. And we're going to give that recording to the parents so they can keep it forever. So there are multiple factors to the motivation aspect to our business. So renting this, being in a tux and playing on the piano is the long-term motivator. So he's super excited.
Performance, that's interesting. So a goal of a typical student would be to perform. That may sound like a simple question.
That's correct.
So it's not just for their own amusement. It's to perform on stage for others.
Exactly.
Recital in effect. Right?
Exactly. So we will be having winter and spring recitals. We just want our students to be at the playing ability before we really start holding their recitals. So our first one will probably be the spring recital of 2020, where we have our students that are in the process of learning music now be able to show off their music playing chops. Our other student, success story with him, student N, he's remarkable. He has, from what we see, there's two ways that people learn music. One is the traditional sight reading and learning music theory and then going into playing the instrument. Then there's the flip side, where people that can hear the music and replicate it immediately. Student N has this ability. He can hear a song and instantly play it, but he doesn't understand what notes he's playing. He doesn't understand what fingers he's using. He just knows, I like that song, I can play it. So recently he started playing the Entertainer. And I'm not sure if any of you have heard of the Entertainer, but if you do, please do. It's a very complicated piano piece. And he decided, I want to do it, and he did it. My jaw hit the ground so hard because you wouldn't know.
So he isn't sight reading. This is all by ear?
Correct. This is all auditory. So he's an auditory learner. Right. So when we teach him music, we'll actually play the note and tell him this is a note A. And he goes, okay, and then he plays it. He goes, I know A, and then he'll play it in all the different octaves. He goes, that's an A, that's an A, that's an A. And there's no notes on the keyboard. He just knows where the A's are at.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's awesome.
That's a gift, is it not?
Yeah. So our job is to turn that gift into a real talent now, because it's like, okay, we want to teach you how you learn, right? But we also want to teach you the skills that it takes to be a pianist so that you can continue this on further.
Wow. So what comes next for you guys?
What comes next is launching and going full revenue, having all of our students go full revenue. This will help us out a lot because then we'll be able to get our location, as well as we're in the talks with the Santa Ana School for the Blind. They're interested in us starting a program for them, which is why I said we were developing a program for blind students. This does get a little bit tricky, though, because we can have them come to us or we can go to them. There's two options, really. When it comes, the only problem is that the scheduling wise, if the students can stay after school, then that works out for us because we are an after school program. But as it stands right now, it would definitely benefit us if the students could come our way. But those are the immediate steps right now.
Yeah. So for our listeners, how can they help?
They could definitely check out our website. That's tomorrowstone.org. You can share. We have
tomorrowstone.org.
Yes, tomorrow's. Yeah,
no apostrophe.
No apostrophe, just Tomorrow Stone. When you type it out, it'll say Tomorrow Stone. That works too.
Okay.
We also have an Instagram and a Facebook. It's just tomorrows_tone, no apostrophe. And there we share our newsletters. So go ahead and you'll be able to read about us, the founders, our organization, and what we do. And by all means, share it. If you know anybody that's in the Orange County area that has a child or that has special needs and is interested in learning an instrument, send them our way. If you speak to the parent or the guardian of the child, send them our website. There's actually really simple to sign up for our lessons. And since we're in beta right now, it's actually 12 free sessions. So it's a win-win. We're teaching a valuable skill, and they get to do it for free.
So you're looking for students.
Correct.
And if someone wants to donate an instrument,
Correct. Yes. And also there's a donation button, too, on our website. So if you'd like to donate some money, you can go ahead and do that. But if you'd like to donate an instrument, there's a contact us section. I'll respond to it personally, and I'll go pick it up. I have a truck, so whatever you'd like to donate.
Very cool. And what about sponsoring a student? Are you set up to do that?
Currently, we're not set up to sponsor a student yet. We're still waiting for the nonprofit to get back to us. So we just submitted it a month ago, so it could be 5 months from now or even a year from now where we'll really have that set up.
Yeah. So we've got just a couple minutes left. Is there anything that you would want to communicate to our listeners
yes.
at this point?
Yes, definitely. From my personal story that I shared with everyone, I just want you to know, you listening, that there's always a way. Whatever you want to do in life, whatever passions you have, There's always a way, and it's going to be a bumpy road. Some people get really lucky and they have things just right there, but most people don't. But there's always a way, and there's always someone to talk to. I mean, I hit a pretty low point in my life where I was thinking some thoughts that I shouldn't be thinking, and I spoke to someone. I spoke to a counselor, and it's always good to share what's going on inside of you with somebody that you can trust or a third party. And yeah, there's always a way.
Very cool. Yeah, I think people will be going down their path, and they'll come across a boulder and say, well, I can't move that boulder, it's too big. And maybe you can just walk around that boulder,
yeah,
and kind of ignore it. And I love your story and your the notion that you need to talk with others is obviously the healthy thing to do. And one thing that I'm aware of with young people and adults as well is a pervasive loneliness that's in our society. I saw a stat the other day that said 1 out of 4 people has no close friends, no one that they can talk with. And maybe music is one way to connect with people and make new friends, create a band.
Yeah, definitely. Don't a lot of your social media friends are not your real friends. Always be mindful of that. They're just people that see what you do. So try to reach, and if you are friends with somebody that lives close to the area, reach out to them and say like, hey, let's go to lunch, instead of just DMing each other.
Yeah, very, very cool. And again, the contact information for your website, yourself, what might that be?
So that is tomorrowstone.org. And when you type it out, that's Tomorrow Stone. And a number is 951-534-8944. That number again is 951-534-8944. You'll get it to a hold of me immediately. My name is Michael Ruiz.
Very cool. And this is John Bradley Jackson signing out. And we'll look forward to talking with you next week, Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Goodbye, everybody.